Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Triangulation is brought to you by Cashfly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Triangulation, episode 200, recorded Monday, May 11th, 2015. Jim Louderback. Triangulation is brought to you by Audible.com. To download a free audiobook of your choice, go to audiblepodcast.com/triangulation. And by SmartThings. SmartThings lets you monitor, control, and automate your home from wherever you are using your smartphone. Right now, SmartThings is offering Triangulation listeners 10% off any home security or solution kit and get free shipping in the U.S. when you go to smartthings.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT at checkout. And by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you get award-winning financial tools, unbiased advice, and a transparent view of all your investments. Best of all, it's free. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/triangulation. It's time for Triangulation, the show where we get to meet some of the most interesting people in technology, sit down, talk with them for an hour. We call it Triangulation because there's three legs to this stool. There's our guest, there's me, and there's you. And if you're here live, you can join our chat room at irc.twit.tv and ask questions. And I know I'm going to get a lot of questions from the chat room on this one because it's our good friend, our old friend, Jim Louderback, formerly of Revision3, formerly of ZDTV, formerly of TechTV, formerly, before that, what did they call that?
So PC Week, PC Magazine, Windows Sources.
Windows Sources.
It's funny, Mike Elgin and he was editor-in-chief of Windows Magazine when I was editor-in-chief of Windows Sources. So we were kind of like, a little
back in the
back then.
days when Comdex was still a thing.
Yeah, and when magazines actually battled each other.
And then we worked together on the Personal Computing Show back in, I can't remember what they called it.
93? It was called The Personal Computing Show.
But what was they had a kind of a name for that.
It was called The Personal Computing Show. It was not really well named.
there was
only one show about the personal computers.
But then there was Computer Shopper after. It was part of it.
No, Computer Shopper was after it, I think.
Yeah.
Or before. I can't remember.
It was after it. The idea was, Ziff Davis's idea was they would get people in. First they buy a block of time on CNBC and other channels. You know this. And then they draw people in with editorial content, and then they get them with basically home shopping for computers. In the early 90s, that was pretty cool.
Well, yeah, and that's what made money for the Ziff Davis magazines then, because, Computer Shopper, all of them, they were all about direct selling of PCs. So remember Zeus? Zeos? No, Zeos.
Zeos.
Zeos, Gateway. Zeos was one of our, remember Zeos? They were one of our sponsors. Zeos, Gateway was the big sponsor. Dell.
So it was all PC manufacturers.
Micron, remember Micron?
Micron, yeah. They ended up just making memory instead of...
but there were others too. I can
Gateway. Was Ted Waite involved?
Yeah.
Or was that?
They were a big sponsor.
I remember Bill McCrone, editor-in-chief of PC Magazine at the time, and the guy who'd put together Ziff's nascent television entry, coming by with a Pentium 90, a 90 megahertz Pentium tower. And I think you were there. We were both trying it. It felt so fast.
It was speedy.
Running Windows 3?
3.1? Windows for workgroups?
God, in 92?
Wasn't Windows 95 yet.
Yeah, no. In 92, it was probably Windows 3
Windows
or
3.1, yeah.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
We're old-timers. You don't look like an old-timer. You look like a young, vibrant man. So let's talk about you, because I want to talk about you. First of all, you're a New Englander.
Uh-huh.
Jim,
yes,
they call him Jim Lobsterback.
Lobsterback. Yeah. Don't go nowhere.
Where are you from in New England?
Well, actually, born in Pennsylvania.
Oh.
Lived in Jersey.
Oh.
Moved to New England when I was in high school.
It's like me. Okay.
Yeah. So, I'm a mutt. I moved all over the place.
Yeah.
I was in Massachusetts and then Vermont. Still.
I associate you with Vermont for some reason.
Yeah, well, I still have a house there.
Do you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's right. You had a beautiful house.
I bought 30 acres of land and built
a lake,
house.
Right?
No, not a lake. Side of a mountain. Built a house.
The Green Mountain
The
State.
minute that the house was done, we started ZDTV and they moved me out to California.
I remember that now.
So it's like, I just built this house.
Sorry.
What do we do? It's all right. We've been renting it. We still go back all the time.
Do you go back in the summer?
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, it's fun.
That'd be
Vermont's
nice.
beautiful in the summer.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Do you have kids?
I have, my son Sam is 15 years old.
Oh, no.
Almost 16. You remember when he was born?
I remember very well when he was born.
He's born in 99.
Wow.
And he is 6'1".
No.
Yes. He towers over all of us.
No.
That's great. It's nice.
That's nice.
You know, I mean, raising kids is an awesome thing. And
Yeah.
he's a high school kid.
Yeah, you're kind of really in the less awesome phase. But if
It's
Sam's a
still
nice
fun.
kid,
He's a
that's
geek
good.
and a gamer.
Yeah, see, he's a
and
good
yeah,
kid.
all he wants to do is hang out and play games.
Guess he's a good kid
Yeah.
then. Yeah. Mine were nothing but. Wait a minute. It says nothing but trouble at that age.
I knew
can
what you
tell
were going to say. I was like, don't say it.
Nothing but trouble. But now Abby's 23.
Wow.
And Henry is 20.
Wow. Like adults.
He'll be 21
They're
in
adults.
August. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into technology? How did that happen?
Well, my dad was always a leader. He was a consultant. He'd always bring
didn't
in.
know that.
Oh yeah, he'd always bring in cool stuff. Like he brought the original, probably the first calculator. Remember the first calculator that came out?
the HPs. They were really expensive.
I don't remember who made it, but
Yeah.
he brought one of those home. I remember.
There were hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
I remember-
Thousands.
Thousands. I remember he brought home this thing once, and I was like 10. It had these 2 suction cups on it, and you stuck your phone in it.
Oh, yeah, that.
Yeah. It was an acoustic coupler.
Yeah, 300
right?
baud modem.
He got one of the.
That was so funny because you had to dial, you had to actually hold the phone, dial the number, and when you heard
stick it in there.
you would put it on the thing
Exactly.
as fast as you could. And then you'd hope that nobody in that nobody in the house
Yep, exactly.
would pick up the phone because it would break the connection.
So
So he brought on one of those.
brought on one of those, Apple II, company he worked for when the Macintosh first shipped. This is Pete Marwick. They gave Macs to every one of their auditors to
Pete
take
Marwick
out.
was a very well-known accountancy.
Right, so he was a
consultancy.
partner at Pete Marwick.
So I do remember that. That was a big win for Apple back in 1984.
exactly.
Oh, they got Pete Marwick.
Yeah.
So he was one of the guys.
He was one of the guys. He wasn't on the audit side, he was on the consulting side, but he had one. And I went to college, got a math degree in
Wait a minute.
technology.
That's interesting. Math, huh?
Yeah, yeah.
Are you a mathematician still? Do you play around with that stuff?
I don't. So the best part about math, there were 2 different things I really liked. The first is non-Euclidean geometry. So Euclidean geometry says that parallel lines never meet, but he never proved it.
He didn't prove
He
it?
never proved it. It's a theorem. So
Goes out to infinity.
What does the world and beyond?
And beyond.
So what does the world look like if
If they
parallel lines
converge.
meet? So
That's
there's
non-Euclidean. But we don't live in a non-Euclidean world, or do we?
We might.
We don't know.
We don't know. Infinity's a long ways away.
That's right. Could be out there. They could be converging.
So how do you represent that? So that was, I really liked that. I thought it was.
That's fascinating.
I was smoking a lot of pot at the time. It's really worked.
That
It's
doesn't
college.
seem like they'd go together.
Oh, they do.
See,
Conceptual
math
mathematics.
is so hard.
No, math is a philosophy, okay?
Oh.
Philosophy is a way of looking at how things in the world interrelate, right?
See, I'm still thinking arithmetic algebra.
No.
This is well beyond
math
that.
math is a philosophy. Letters and words are symbols.
Yeah.
Math
Numbers are symbols.
and numbers are symbols.
Yeah.
The alpha, the Greek things that you use, they're symbols. So how does the world interrelate with each other? Well, you can use philosophy.
Can you think
use math.
symbolically like that?
I don't know.
Could you at the time?
Probably.
How high were you?
Probably.
Floating through
University
the
of
air.
Vermont. It was, look, I got almost straight A's and was Phi Beta Kappa, so I must have been doing
Can't have been
something
that
right.
high.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's
But,
really awesome.
But yeah, so the other one that I really liked in math is the history of mathematics and numerology. Like, why is the number 3 or the number 7 or the number 4? Why do they have spiritual connotations? There's this whole history behind it. The
They
number
studied
4,
that in the math department? Or
Yes.
did they didn't poo-poo that?
No, it was the history of mathematics was one of the courses
Wow.
that I took. I think it was 200 levels.
It's Arab, right? It's Arabic.
Some of it, well, 10, like because 5 and 5, so we
Yeah.
count to 10. That's why we're base 10.
Right.
And of course, then I got to my favorite programmer joke ever.
What's
Once I
that?
started doing base number symbols. So base 10, base 8, base 3, et cetera. Why did the programmer think that that Christmas was Halloween?
Why?
Because dec 25 equals oct 31. Decimal 25 is octal
December
31.
25 equals October 31st.
So that's how I knew that I was going to be a nerdy
really
math major
geeky.
when that was the funniest thing I'd ever
so
heard.
geeky.
Isn't that awesome?
You're better known for, of course, your television stuff. We're gonna talk about this. Do you know what today is? Today is the. Let me do the math. 17th anniversary
Is
of
this
the
the
launch
day
of
that we
TechTV,
launched?
May 11th.
Wow, ZDTV.
Yeah, it was ZDTV.
Pre-Tech TV. Wow.
May 11th, 1998.
Wow.
They had the Devo concert.
I remember the Devo. And the thing is, I had to get up early because we taped Fresh Gear at 6 a.m. the next
that was
day.
the product review show.
Yeah, wait a minute. I got to show you something because I brought this. I still have
Oh,
the-
my
This
God,
is the
Fresh-
original license plate from Fresh Gear.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
I had to show that to you.
Every time I hear fresh gear, I think fresh gear lamp on.
Fresh gear lamp on.
Fresh gear lamp on.
The reason why, by the way, you bring that up, we were testing voice recognition, right? And I kept on trying to get this lamp to turn on. And as it turns out, I think, I don't know this for a fact, but
it wasn't.
No, but my voice is actually one of the worst voices for doing voice recognition.
Why
for
would
some reason?
Because it's too smooth and mellow.
I don't know.
You don't
because
have
I would do it like this.
Fry.
Or like, hello, fresh gear lamp on.
And it works.
So
it is. It's too smooth.
Yeah, I don't know why, but it's
you need more edge.
I need more ups and downs. I don't know, but anyway. So yeah, voice recognition. That was always so funny. It would never work for me.
It would never work.
Never worked.
It was so funny, but of course, in a way, that's one of the things that was endearing about you and about TechTV in general was we didn't hide. It was warts and all. We didn't hide the fact that technology most of the time was kind of, especially then, didn't work that well. And up to then, everybody was like, "Ooh, technology, shiny, new. You know, technology's so great." And I think that was one of the things I think that we did right, which was we said, "No, we're just going to tell it like it is. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work."
The other thing we did right, and I think you see this translate now into what's been going on with YouTube and online video now, is we were really the first folks to have authentic people in front of the camera. You, me, Sumi, all of our hosts. We weren't professional TV. Well, you were, but all the rest of us.
Not really. No.
I know. I'm kidding you a little bit.
Not really.
But
so
we were all
I think that was one of the
real.
charms of it. Yeah.
We were all actual. I mean, we were a little geeky, but we were all real people talking about exploring and sharing our experiences with technology and bringing people into this wonderful world that we loved. And you know, in the past, it was people reading a teleprompter.
There's Sumi and Jim.
Yeah, look at that. Nice.
Is that fresh gear?
That's fresh gear right there.
Yes. This is the 16 meg compact.
Terrible audio on that. Whoever digitized this did an 8-bit audio.
While I did like this device, I didn't like the.
What's Sumi Das doing these days?
She left CNET recently. She stayed at CNET, or BNet, part of CNET, and as a reporter there for a long time. I think she just left.
She has a family now.
She has a family. I think she had another baby recently.
Yeah.
And
do you keep up with people?
I do. I keep up with some people. I mean, I keep up with everyone I can.
Thanks to Facebook, it's easy.
I know, Facebook is nice.
If it weren't for Facebook, I don't think I'd know what anybody was doing.
But we had
except
a bunch
for people like you. And
so we had a bunch of people that came into Revision3 off and on. So,
yeah.
Which
well, that
was
was what happened. And we'll get to that. I come we're jumping around.
We'll
get to that. But
for you.
well, no, I don't mind jumping around. But it was the TechTV diaspora that was very interesting. All the different tendrils.
You know what someone said to me, which I kind of get, is that TechTV really was kind of the Xerox PARC of video.
Well, that's making it a little bit.
But if you think about it,
fancier than it was.
Well, but it was a great group of people that all spread out and did a lot of really innovative things. And Jason Odell, for example. So you know, remember Jason, our engineer, right? He's the guy who went to CNN and did the Will.i.am hologram.
He did that with Moosebutt.
Borman.
David Borman.
What'd you call him?
Moosebutt. Wasn't not my name. It's Don Imus called him Moosebutt. Borman.
He lives up here in Sonoma.
I know he does. In fact, I've been meaning to get him down here. So that's an interesting story because David Borman was an NBC vice president.
Right. Well, when we did the site, when you did the site, more me, I just dropped in and out every now and then.
Where were you during that?
I was chief of Windows Sources.
Oh, you went to Windows Sources.
Yeah.
So that was after.
Wait, I got to show you something else. I brought you a gift. You may not want it.
Oh, I'll take this. Are you kidding?
Look at this.
That's a gift?
That's a gift for you.
I'll take it.
I have a couple of them. I can't guarantee it's never been worn, but it's clean.
I'll take it.
It's yours.
Oh, my God. Well, it won't fit me if it's yours. Oh, no, it'll fit. That's good.
Like that, huh?
MSNBC. Oh, we have such stories we can tell.
Oh, God.
This is great.
Isn't that awesome?
I'm not going to wear it. I'm going to frame it.
Yeah, I thought you might like it.
Yeah. Is that a good name or what? We could not come up with a good name for the show.
The site. And back then, that was okay.
It was okay, but even then it was hard to get a .com. We had the site .com, but it wasn't easy to get.
But yeah, David Borman came in and helped to launch it.
I have so many stories about Borman, and I'll talk about him. But yeah, that was his thing. That he was the Washington bureau chief for CNN.
Right.
He got Jason Odell to do the 3D.
It's a hologram, right, of Will.i.am, right? I don't know.
No, not Will.i.am. It was the reporter, Jessica.
Oh, right.
It was during the election.
But when they did
he did the Will.i.am. That's different. Was that for CNN?
Yeah, that was for they did that when the night of the election. Because I was actually at.
Were you there?
I was there. Quite coincidentally, I was there for work, but because Erica Hill was on.
That's right.
And Dave.
She's now
Dave,
a Weekend
her husband,
Today show. And Dave Yount, who was our floor director. Dave Yount and I went out at
dinner, and then we went into the sort of like reception. Yeah, to watch. It was really cool. It was
the 3D Will.i.am.
It was pretty wild. I saw Jason. Well, you know what Jason's doing now, right?
No, what?
Jason is the guy who's been setting up all the technology at the YouTube centers. You know, the YouTube
there you go.
partner centers. Partners. Yep.
This is the dorkiest thing.
This is the Will I Am hologram.
And of course,
I'm being beamed to you like it's Star Wars and stuff.
he's down the
Yeah, it
hall.
looks like basically like
Yeah,
exactly
right.
like
So beamed is a he's down the hall.
He's not in Chicago
He
or
could
anything.
actually walk into the studio in about 3 seconds.
in Chicago. It's a beautiful time in Los Angeles. My mom texted me, telling me how proud she is of me, and you know, lending my
It took
career to
many cameras
Yeah,
all
right,
around
exactly.
him
All
to do
around
that.
it to create that.
So I didn't know Jason did that. I knew Borman did it. He's very
Jason did
proud of
that. He's doing the YouTube partner spaces now.
Oh,
Did the
good.
one in LA. So you go down there.
Did he? That's nice.
Yeah, he did
Eileen
that.
Rivera works down
He
there.
actually worked with David Borman on Current. Remember
Current.
when
Poor
when
David.
Cenk Uygur came to do
Poor
the Young
David.
Turks on
He
Current?
said he has such stories about Keith Olbermann.
I
Sometime,
can imagine. You gotta. Oh, I want to hear those stories too. Oh my God.
sometime we'll talk. I don't want to be a name dropper though. We're gonna talk more with Jim Louderback. And find out what he's up to now. And I think we should talk more. Some old.
Let's talk more stories. Absolutely.
You don't mind that, do you, folks? It's kind of like a couple of vets get together. You remember
Just talk
that time in
about
the
the old days.
foxholes? Our show today brought to you by Audible.com. I was listening to Audible on the way in here. In fact, that's why I'm a little late. I had to go around the block because I'm listening to Otherland. This is Tad. What's his name? Johnson?
Tad Williams is awesome.
You know it.
Oh my God. I'll tell you a Tad Williams story
You're a big
too.
sci-fi
Do you want to
fan.
know a Tad Williams story?
Yes, I do.
So he used to work at Apple.
No, I didn't know
Yes, and when I first came out here consulting, like right at college, doing consulting, a little after, doing some consulting for National Semiconductor, building systems for them before I got into media, came out here, and I was out here for, I don't know, a couple months. My wife came out. I met him. He was doing a book signing at Valley Fair when
I
the
remember
first
that.
book in Memory and Thorn, remember the Dragon Bone Chair? The Dragon Bone Chair, that was his
is
first
my
great
first
series.
Tad
Anyway, Tad Williams. By the way,
Williams
here's what you
novel.
got to read. Tad Williams,
Yeah.
read his Bobby Dollar trilogy.
Well, see, now...
Bobby
okay.
Dollar is, so I'll tell you what's going on in Bobby Dollar.
Okay.
Bobby Dollar is an angel.
Yeah.
And it takes place in Silicon Valley, in a
Yeah.
slightly different Silicon Valley from here.
now, see, I wanna
and he's
read this.
fighting with the devil, and he falls in love with the devil.
The dirty streets
Oh my
of
God,
heaven.
it's such
Is it a noir?
good
Kind of a
book. It's
noir?
It's total noir. But it takes place in Silicon Valley today, slightly different, but it's so freaking good.
So I'm reading the Otherland trilogy, which is about
Yeah,
the future,
right.
and it's VR. And,
It's very good.
Yeah, that's a 4-book. So it's a quadrilogy.
The
Holy
War of the
cow.
Flowers is another really good book of his. And now he's going back to his original series, The Dragon Bone Chair, so Memory, Sorrow, and Thorn, and he's doing the 4th book in the trilogy.
Was he an engineer at Apple? What did he do
Yeah, I
at
think he was an
Apple?
engineer at Apple.
That's
he
pretty
worked
cool.
at Apple.
That is very
Yeah.
cool. No wonder, because the technology in this is very
Yeah.
accurate. So this is what
Anyway,
I'm
sorry.
listening to. But the point is, and you notice I say read, and people get mad at me because they say you're not reading. Well, no, I'm not like looking at a book on paper, but that's the beauty of Audible. I can read or listen when I couldn't be holding a book, when I'm in the car driving here. You know, I first started listening to Audible in the year 2000. I was driving down to TechTV, and that's a 2-hour commute.
Yeah,
sometimes
you
to-
had a wicked
I would,
commute.
I would spend
that was
2 to 4 hours every single day in the car. If it weren't for Audible, I wouldn't be here today. I would be in jail for road rage or something. So go to audible.com, browse around. Now there's 180,000 titles. When I first started listening to Audible, they didn't have much sci-fi because sci-fi, you know, was pulp. And the publishers didn't do audio books. That's crazy. But what I love is that Audible loves sci-fi. So what they've done is they've gone back with the Audible Frontiers series, and they're recording stuff like Asimov stuff,
the old
and Heinlein
Heinlein,
stuff that was
right.
never.
Stranger in a Strange Land.
They have
the Moon
it.
is a Harsh Mistress.
They have it.
Awesome.
That was never ever recorded. So that's really great. They're basically resurrecting these classic science fiction. So if you're into sci-fi, obviously Jim and I are. Audible has an infinite supply. Well, not exactly, but close to infinite supply of wonderful stuff. And I have to say, listening to sci-fi is great because it's a movie in your mind. You really
Nice.
You're driving, you're exercising. I was earlier rowing. Everything goes away and you're in that book, and that is an amazing experience. Now, of course, they also have nonfiction. Right before this, I like to alternate fiction and nonfiction. I listened to the new Becoming Steve Jobs book, which is, I think, probably the best book about Steve Jobs so far. There's The Innovators by Walter Isaacson. People are raving about that. The next book I'm going to read is Creativity Incorporated. That's by Ed Catmull, the president of Pixar. It is, according to Brent Schlender, who wrote the Becoming Steve Jobs book, the book about running a company. You should read it too. That's full of creative types because they're hard. It's like herding cats, right? So I think you could see there's a lot of different, and of course there's modern fiction. Lisa's listening right now to a Nora Roberts. She loves Nora Roberts. There's a ton of stuff. So here's the deal. Go to audiblepodcast.com/triangulation, and you're going to get a free audiobook. That's another one I really want to read. Ashley Vance is going to be on the show next week, the week after. We're going to talk to Ashley about his book.
Nice.
Elon Musk just came out. Here's the deal. Go to audiblepodcast.com/triangulation. You're going to be signing up for the gold account. Now, don't worry. That's the book every month, but the first month is free, and you can cancel anytime in that first month. But your first book, that book you sign up with, that's yours to keep forever. You'll also get the daily digest of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal. We love it. audiblepodcast.com/triangulation. Every time we do an Audible ad, it ends up being a book-length ad, only because we want to talk about the books. It's so much fun to talk about the books. Give it you'll be in the Audible fan club, too, I'm sure. Our guest, Jim Louderback, old friend, great friend, and former, were you president at Revision3? Was that your title?
CEO.
CEO.
Revision3, yeah.
He's now at something called Watch It. We'll ask about that. I know people want me to ask about Revision3, but before we get there, I'm going to tease you. Before we get there, I want to do a little more of the past. So you said you were building systems for...
So National Semiconductor, Citibank, a bunch of different companies.
Were these PCs? Or?
Yeah, they were client-server systems, PC systems. I actually worked on mainframe systems early on.
So this was what you did at first out of school?
For the first couple of years after I went to NYU, got an MBA, and like right after college. I actually worked at a commuter airline in Vermont for a year.
Oh, yeah? Wow.
Yeah. And, but yeah, I spent 5-6 years doing consulting.
So you love technology. You kind of followed in Dad's footsteps doing the consultancy thing. How'd you become a writer?
So I started writing about the things. I developed built a development methodology for client server systems, an iterative development methodology.
Oh, interesting.
And
this is in the early 90s?
Late 80s.
80s?
Late 80s, maybe 1990. And I wrote about it. And I was like, I should get this published. And there was this magazine called DBMS. Remember DBMS? I gave it to them, and they were like, they made it the cover story. I was like, yes.
Nice.
And I wrote a test. I wrote a guest column for PC Week, this magazine I've been reading.
So you kind of liked doing this
since '86.
Yeah,
you
PC Week was great.
Loved
Spencer
it.
was that Spencer the Cat?
Yeah. And
you weren't Spencer the Cat, were you?
I was for 4 weeks.
What?
Yes.
So do they swear you to silence?
Yeah, they did.
So Spencer the Cat was the gossip
The rumor
columnist.
cat, yeah. All these rumors would come in.
What happened to the industry? We don't have any of that stuff anymore. We
have
got
Valleywag.
That sucks. Spencer the Cat was so much fun. And then there was another one, Cringely.
Yep. Robert X. Cringely.
They were competing. People think Cringely was one person. There is a guy named Cringely, but that's not him.
Yeah.
He was like the last Cringely, and he kept the name.
Yeah.
I don't even think that's his real name, Robert X. Cringely. Right?
I don't think so. And then Mac the Knife from
Mac the Knife. And these were all pseudonyms.
Matt Rothenberg was Mac
the whole time?
I don't know about the whole time, but he was for a long time.
Spencer would come to the Comdex parties. I remember dancing. I tell this story a lot. With Bill Gates was at the party. I mean, in the early when PC Mag and PC Week were big, they were big.
Oh, yeah.
They were dominant in the industry.
Exactly.
And everybody came to you. It wasn't
Our
like you.
PC Week, our Spencer the Cat parties at
Huge.
Comdex were huge.
And Gates would be there.
Invite only. Gates. Everybody was there.
And a guy dressed as Spencer the Cat.
I wore the cat suit once.
Did you?
Yes.
I knew it. I knew
I was in the cat suit once. Funniest time in the cat suit. Actually, a couple times. But remember when they were building? Remember the tower that they built in Vegas? Was it not the Vegas Stratosphere? When they were building it, I went up there in a freight elevator, in a construction elevator to the top when they were building
in a Spencer the Cat costume?
We brought the costume with us. I dressed up like Spencer for our Comdex TV that we did. This was before TechTV.
That was in the hotels. That was in the hotels. I remember Comdex TV. So, if you hadn't had enough Comdex, you go back to your room and there it is on your TV set. And I remember you were in it.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
The Chachki Report.
Yes.
I would do the Chachki Report. Go out and find all the giveaways and talk about them.
What was I doing there? I was reporting for there were no blogs at the time. It was some magazine I was writing, like a Comdex.
Well, when we did the personal coming show, you were also working for some of the magazines too, weren't you?
The way it started
93,
was
94.
Before the site. I was doing let me think. I was in radio in San Francisco in the early 90s. Dvorak and I started doing Dvorak on computers.
Right.
And Halsey Minor, when he was starting CNET, called me. He was still back in Virginia.
Yeah.
Remember that?
I got the call too.
Yeah.
I was in the pilot as well.
Yeah, that's right. Well, you were in a later pilot. I was even before you. They hadn't moved to California yet.
Yeah.
It was Halsey and Shelby Bonney, and they hired me. I was like the 4th employee to be. I can't remember. I think the VP programming.
So
was
they
the title.
wow.
Well,
You got a lot of stock. A lot of those stocks did really well for you, didn't
he
it?
called me at one point and said, if you could give me $10,000, I would give you a significant share in CNET. And I had just bought a house here in Petaluma, and I didn't have it. If I'd had it, I'd be very wealthy today. Or I'd be broke like the rest of them.
Right, yeah.
Because Halsey's in trouble with the state of California for not paying taxes. And no, I shouldn't laugh. That's not gleeful laugh. It just, well, it's a little gleeful. He fired me very quickly. We did one pilot. You were not in the first pilot.
No, I wasn't in that pilot.
It was a horrible pilot.
After they moved out here. Yeah.
Hopefully dead forever. But Dvorak was in it. Remember Stuart Alsop?
Of course.
He was in it. Gina Smith was in it. And Fred Davis was in it.
Oh, nice.
And it was, you know what? It was a twit. I've really only had one idea for a show ever.
That's so funny.
Because I love the McLaughlin group. But I said, let's do like a McLaughlin group. I'll be McLaughlin, and we'll have the hosts, and they'll talk about this. But somebody had the idea, and I didn't have the sense to stop them because I hadn't done any TV before this, of like they did Michael Douglas Wall Street.
Oh, did you
hair.
gel your hair back?
Straight back.
Really? Like this?
It was horrible. Like a helmet. Yeah, it looked exactly like that. Like a helmet. Anyway, I hope that's dead forever. Nobody should ever find a tape of that. But after Halsey, so then I didn't hear anything from Halsey for 6 months. It was like so god awful. They never called. And then and I supposedly was VP programming, but apparently not. They hired some guy from Hollywood. Then Halsey says, "Come on in, see our new place." They'd got that train car in the place.
Yeah.
And
down on Chestnut Street or something like that. Yeah, in San Francisco.
And come see my train car office. And I went in.
That's what I remember.
And he said, basically, it was my see you later. And he said, but ZD, here's a press release. ZD's looking for TV people. You should call them. That was his way of firing me. You should call them. Anyway, I did. And do you remember it was Bill McCrone and Gary Kay. Gary Kay was the TV guy.
Yep. Because he worked at ABC News.
Yep. Editor-in-chief of PC Magazine. Flew to One Dark.
Oh, they flew out to New York, huh?
Did you ever work in One Park Avenue?
I worked in One Dark. When I went to go do Windows Sources and moved back to New York, I worked in One Dark.
It was kind of an old building.
It was kind of old and tired. It's called One Dark because there was no light inside the building.
Dark.
It was one of those big buildings on Park Avenue and 32nd Street. And it was one of those buildings. They were on the second floor, the third. And, this is, Ziff Davis had a publishing empire. They had a lot of magazines.
Very wealthy.
And then got rid of all the magazines except the tech ones, which they kept there.
But he had sailing magazines. He probably had trucking
yachting or something.
Yachting, yeah.
Here's Brides magazines. They had Brides magazines.
This was Bill Ziff.
Bill Ziff.
Who was a brilliant guy and was very wealthy after he sold the magazines at exactly the right moment.
Yep, exactly. Both times.
Kept the PC stuff. And it was small at the time. Grew it, sold it, and now he and the boys just kind of live off the land.
Well, no. So the boys ended up. They've got a hedge fund where they took the proceeds from the magazines, and apparently they took $2 billion and turned it to $8 billion or something like that.
Nice.
They bought Starwood and sold it.
Nice.
They've done a bunch of other stuff. I don't even know how much other stuff they've done. But
another place I wish I had stock in.
Apparently done a really good job and Michael Miller's working for them now.
Who was another editor?
PC Magazine. He was editor-in-chief of PC Magazine.
Michael Miller was the quintessential geek. If you were gonna do casting call for the editor-in-chief of PC Magazine, he was after Bill McCrone. Bill McCrone was the guy who said dare to be dull.
Yeah.
It's like it's okay to be dull.
Bill invented the product test lab.
Yep.
For magazines.
Brilliant. He opened these
PC
labs
Magazine
in Forster
labs,
City.
He opened ZD labs out here. He was the guy who did that.
And that's where Norton worked for a while. Patrick Norton. Didn't he work in the labs?
No, Patrick. When I got to Windows Sources as editor-in-chief, he was an editorial assistant there.
Oh. Assistant.
It was one of his first jobs working for me.
Yes, sir, Mr. Louderback. Can I get you a cup of coffee?
Well, I came in and we changed the focus of the magazine from being like really sort of geeky and techy to kind of being about Windows. Because our job basically was to keep Windows Magazine that Mike Elgin was running from becoming a competitor to PC Magazine. So my job was to bring him down to my level.
Nobody remembers this now, it's kind of like the Game of Thrones
It was
Lannisters
totally
versus
Game
the
of
Baratheons.
Thrones.
But
CMP, IDG, Ziff Davis were the three.
they hated.
God.
And if you got a job with Ziff Davis, it would be in your contract. You could never go work for IDG. Those sons of.
Exactly.
So Elgin was at IDG.
No, CMP.
CMP.
They had
Okay.
Windows Magazine.
Windows
I think
Magazine.
it's all fuzzy now.
Ed Bott was at IDG.
Ed Bott was at PC Computing, which was part of
IDG.
Ziff Davis.
Oh, that was Ziff Davis.
Yes.
Okay.
That's where Ed Bott was.
That's why we know all of us know each other, because it's a small.
Well, and
it's a
it all
small
turns
world.
out it's like.
And it mattered not a whit.
Yeah.
Because they're all dead. And
I mean, like
it's all dust.
Dylan Tweeney, for example, who is now.
Yeah.
I mean, so
He's going to be on Twit soon.
Oh, cool. So, Dylan now does VentureBeat. He was, when I met him, he was working in the lab at InfoWorld when I was running the lab at PC Week.
And InfoWorld was IDG.
We weren't supposed to talk to each other,
Right.
but we did. We hung out. And,
Good.
But then Dylan ended up coming over and, he worked for me at PC Magazine. And so, we all, it was
So
very
funny.
incestuous.
Very
We all ended
incestuous.
up working with each other.
But that's how this all got started. And we're going to get to how TV began, boys and girls.
The early days of television. That's right.
The early days of computer television. At the time, it was Stuart Chaffee and the Computer Chronicles.
Computer Chronicles, right?
And in Canada, I think they had, who did they have in Canada? There was another guy up there who was doing, but that was it. And Ziff Davis said, actually Halsey Minor did too. CNET wanted to be a TV network.
Oh, yeah, they
before
started as
were
a TV
website.
network. That's
Yeah.
how they raised their money.
Yep. And then they pivoted.
Yes.
So everybody in the early 90s was thinking TV. How do we get in mass media? We'll talk about
We're
that
all
in
a little bit
second.
early.
But a little bit. Right now, we're going to talk about how to automate your home. A smart home is something everybody wants, right? But it's so hard to do if you have all these different protocols. Nothing talks to anything else. That's why actually Smart Things was created. The smart folks at Smart Things did a Kickstarter project to create this. This is the key, the Rosetta Stone, the Smart Things Hub. It talks to pretty much everything. Sonos, Hue, Philips, Schlage locks, Quickset locks, the Nest thermostats, the Honeywell thermostats, the drop cams. And then the hub talks to them and then talks to your phone. So you only need one app to do everything you want on your iPhone, your Android phone, or your Windows phone. I got to pat him on the back for that. That's nice. For home automation, you could turn your lights on and off from your phone. Here, you have your music play. You can integrate things together so you can have the music play when the kids come home or you come home. When you come home, the one thing they haven't figured out how to make a martini, but everything else, the lights go down, the music comes on, the curtains draw, whatever it is, your Smart Things Hub will talk to it, and you control it from your phone. They have a little presence sensor, so you don't even have to do anything when you walk in. The presence sensor will say, oh, the kids are home. You can put this in their backpack. It's small enough you can put it around a dog's collar or on your keychain. The presence sensor is very cool. There that is. So the idea is Smart Things, it's an open platform. They have their own doohickeys, quite a few of them if you go to smartthings.com. And they also integrate with everybody else's so that you really can create a smart home very easily. Start with a Smart Things home security or solution kit. They're smart. This is a good idea because they know, it's kind of, if it's too open-ended, you might be a little like, what do I do first? So pick one of the things you want to do with the solution kit or the home security kit. They start at $189, and we're going to give you 10% off your first kit when you go to smartthings.com/twit and use the offer code TWIT. I love this. It's great. We've done it throughout the house, and it's so cool. Smartthings.com/twit. Take advantage of the special offer for listeners to Twit. Use the offer code TWIT at smartthings.com/twit. CES 2015 Editor's Choice Award. And for good reason. Every year we'd go to CES in the Home Automation Pavilion and say, can everything talk to everything yet? They go, nope. You're Zigbee, right? Yep. Can't talk to that guy, right? Nope.
Yep, he's Z-Wave. You're Zigbee.
You're ZB, you're
Bluetooth
Z-Wave.
low power. Sorry. You're out.
So frustrating.
No.
It's like you would think they'd have figured that out, but nobody wanted to let go of their little piece of turf. It took somebody like Smart Things to come in and say, okay, we'll handle it. We'll talk to everything. That was the only way it was ever going to happen. We're talking to Jim Louderback, formerly CEO of Revision3. But we worked, of course, as everybody knows, together at TechTV, originally ZDTV, which is, we're at today's anniversary. This is just coincidence.
God, that's amazing.
May 11th, 1998 is when it started. Yep. The Devo concert was the grand opening. So when did you find out that Ziff Davis wanted to do TV? How did you find out about that?
So I was at Ziff Davis at PC
Windows
Week.
Sources? PC Week.
PC Week. I'd gone back to PC Week at that point. And it was March of 1997. And I was
You had already done TV with a personal computing show in the early 90s. We did that
exactly.
together.
And the
with
site
Gina.
was going on, and I would come in and do guest
You'd
spots
be a
on the
consultant.
site. I come in and show off products. I basically do a smaller version of Fresh Gear with Soledad. So I come in and bank
Right.
4 or 5 different products.
Soledad O'Brien was our anchor, and that was NBC said, well, since Microsoft's invested in our channel, I guess we have to do a
Got to
tech
do a tech show, yeah.
They called us, and Gina Smith and I weren't doing anything. They were just paying me to kind of pretend to be doing TV. So they said, create a show, you get 2 weeks. So we went in, we pitched it. Andrew Lack, who is now back, by the way.
Right, I know Andy Lack's back running news.
Running news at NBC. He went for years actually. He was running Sony America. And Andy Lack, who came in a 3-piece suit with cowboy boots, put his feet up on the table. What do you got? Bill McCronin, Gary Kay, and I are pitching this, pitching away. And at the end, he goes, I wish my guys would bring stuff like that into me. And I smoked a cigar that day.
I've not heard that story.
We
That's
did the
good.
site, and you were part of it. And the whole idea for Ziff was really getting people like you on the air.
Yeah.
Establish this media presence for Ziff Davis. Because I think they probably even then sensed that magazines might not be the end of the line.
I think what the strategy at Ziff Davis was to try and be on every media.
Right.
So remember, they bought the events. Eventually SoftBank Ziff Davis bought Comdex. So it was a big event business.
Making Shelley Adelson a very
rich man, much to our chagrin at this point. But anyway, that's another story. But yeah, so and they want to do television, they want to do print, they want to do books, they want to do everything.
I remember we had Ziff Davis books, didn't we? Yeah. So they call you in '97. You'd already done TV for
so a little bit. So March of '97.
We did 6 months.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. But I've been doing stuff with you, and so March of '97. I'm at some conference with Sam Whitmore, who was
Love
awesome.
Sam.
Yeah, Sam's awesome. He hired me at PC Week, and he's like, check this out. There's a press release that went out that we were going to launch a 24-hour cable channel.
They hadn't told you.
Yeah, and I was like,
By the way, when NBC read that press release, not too happy.
Oh, really? Yeah, I can imagine.
That was one of the reasons they canceled the site.
Yeah. I thought they canceled it because Princess Diana died, and then they realized that at MSNBC was going to get much higher ratings. What do we call it? The morning channel? Someone died, we were in morning.
Yeah.
And there was just 24 hours
They
of
put us
morning.
on hiatus after Princess Diana's death. And the hiatus lasted weeks and went on for more weeks and then some more weeks. Literally, they didn't tell us we were canceled for months.
Yeah.
And then finally they said, I think this is permanent. but it was because of that press release. I swear to God that they said, well, and not only that, we don't really want to compete with you.
You're not a great partner anymore.
Yeah.
So then by September of '97, we'd moved back to California.
Because you wanted to do this.
Well, they'd made me, was I editorial director or editor-in-chief?
I think you were.
Yeah. So we'd hired TV people, and the idea was that I could help them because I had the Ziff Davis content, sort of way in my mind. So kind of partner me up with the TV people to make sure that we kind of did it the right way.
Yes, the site was kind of a failure from the point of view of Ziff Davis. Because, first of all, there was a constant battle. This was early days of the web between the actual website, the site, and the TV people. They were just constantly
Suzanne
at odds.
Stefanik and who was the woman?
Matthew Hahn.
Yeah, right.
And then the executive producer of the TV site who had come to us from CBS.
From NBC.
Or NBC,
I think she was from NBC.
Yeah, Kathy.
Kathy, right. I can't remember her last name. Anyway,
she was so
News.
burned out from being executive producer of NBC Nightly News for years.
Yeah.
That it was like, what? Huh? What do you want? I'm sleeping. Anyway, they were always at odds.
Interesting.
So so Ziff Davis had said, we're going to do this site, because this will give our editors and our writers this exposure, and it didn't quite work out that way. So I think when ZDTV was in they said, how can we make this work better? And I think it was smart to bring you in right at the beginning.
Yeah, it was fun. I mean, look, it was smart to bring you on. It was smart to bring.
Well, I was technical managing editor of the site, which meant my job was to keep Soledad from saying things like MS-DOS. That was pretty much it. Or I would read the scripts to make sure there weren't any big boners.
And I think they should have had you on camera more, not just as a virtual
I was
character.
deaf,
No, I know, but they should have had you.
Well, that's a long and terrible story, which I've told before. But the deal with Ziff Davis, with Bill McCrone and Gary Kay, was I would be the managing editor, and chief correspondent on the site. But then when David Borman, who was the guy in charge of putting the site on the air, remember Moosebutt? He's back.
Yep.
He came to me one day and said, I just got off the phone with New York, and this idea of having you as chief correspondent, well, let me tell you what they said. Leo? Ugh. Thank you, David. He said, but wait.
But wait, I've got
a plan. And even then, David was quite a geek. He's the guy who did the 3D thing for CNBC.
Well, he did Pseudo.
CNN.
Remember Pseudo?
Yeah.
I met him when he was CEO of Pseudo.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That startup, yeah. He came in to try and save
it. was an early radio streaming startup.
Right, but that was after the site. I mean, this was 2000.
Yeah. Yeah, still early.
I know, still early.
So he had a checkered career. But anyway, he was trying to be nice to me. I remember David, the reason Don Imus called him Moosebutt is he was a big fella.
Yeah.
And he had the world's smallest phone. He had the Sony must have gotten to Japan. And he went on what? Yes. He'd be talking to Andy Lack from New York. Yes, Mr. Lack. That's the other thing I remember from the site.
They all call him.
You were probably there. Andy Lack comes in. He's wearing one of those New York dark kind of like wool coats, the winter coats that they wear, the executive coat, and a little velvet trim, right? And he comes in, he's to the site, he surveys the set here in San Francisco, takes off his coat, and he doesn't look around it. He just holds it out. And David Borman comes scurrying up and said, thank you.
Grabs.
I'll take your coat. Thank you.
God.
It's really, I'm having more, I hated the job, but I had a lot of fun watching these people. And I'm thinking, this is television. This is how it works.
Yeah.
So I think did a good thing. The best thing they did was bringing in Greg Drebin, I think. Do you remember Greg Drebin?
Yeah, I worked for Greg for 5 years. The thing about Greg is, and he was a great TV guy.
He was a great TV guy.
Greg knew, because he was on The Real World. He was one of the early producers of The Real World. At MTV. And he knew how to make things entertaining and interesting.
And he was interested in technology. He wasn't a geek like us.
Yeah, no, but he was, yeah.
But he brought to it I think a lot of the way ZDTV looked, the shows we did came out of him.
Yeah, we would have been reading manuals in front of the camera had it not been for him bringing that entertainment.
I would like to play
angle.
this, Jason, if you can find it. I think Kate Patello tweeted it. So if you go to twitter.com/Kate Patello, the original reel. Have you seen this?
Yeah.
And most of these shows never made it on the air, including me as Chip Buff, a geek fitness expert. And we had some woman who was an actual fitness expert. And I'm wearing a sweatband on a treadmill.
That was so funny.
She's going to show you how to stretch to keep from getting carpal tunnel. And while she's doing that, I'm going to show you how to clean your computer screen. That was the concept of the show. Fitness plus technology.
There were a lot of shows
that was
we
before
tried.
Greg Drebin showed up, I'm pretty sure.
No, it wasn't. No.
Wasn't?
No,
we
that
did a
whole
lot of
pilot thing
pilots.
We did a lot of pilots, and it was and Greg, to his credit, said, there are no dumb ideas.
Right,
Try
let's see everything. Yeah.
Let's put it all together and try everything. And we did.
But he had the good sense to kill that
right,
one.
well, yeah.
Can you
he
find
made the decisions about which shows make sense.
Wonderful, silly ideas in there. But the shows that did make it, Fresh Gear.
Fresh Gear was one of them.
Call for Help.
Call for Help, Screensavers.
Screensavers.
Internet Tonight.
Internet Tonight, which actually everybody, I think, thought was going to be the big hit.
Yeah.
Because it had Michaela Pereira. Well, she was, at first, was she on it? I think she was.
I can't remember.
And Squatch, we call him.
Yeah.
Harriet.
Scott Harriet.
Because he's a Sasquatch fanatic.
He is. He's a hunter.
That's what he's doing now. He hunts Bigfoot. Anyway, we thought because Scott was a comedian, Michaela was TV talent, and we had writers and producers that was going to be the hit.
And the internet was coming on. There were all these sites to talk about and things
hit.
happening. The hamster dance.
Right.
They may have broken the hamster dance.
They broke the dancing baby.
Yeah,
they broke the dancing baby. But it did not really take off.
And then there was...
Here you go. We don't have to show this silly stuff. Although this kind of silly. Go ahead and... That's David Wayne. Remember him? Oh, Craig. Now, Craig Miller, was on the site. Yep. Go ahead and turn the audio up. Craig was on the site, so we used him for a lot of these. There's Internet Tonight.
What's going on with the X-Files sites, and why are they being X'd out?
Trying to get the latest on your favorite celebrities.
Look at the web. Oh, Lord
there
above.
she is.
Tilda. Nat Hahn, who worked at the site.
Yep.
but never did make it
We'll
to.
give you a day of surfing.
On internet tonight.
Yeah,
Neither
that-
of them
was,
hosted that.
Yeah, that was the pilot.
Was that Chris Kosach? I don't know.
I don't think. I think Chris was
This
there
was
later.
this was a local television personality, Wendy Takuda, who was that
right.
Wendy or
Time they spent on the internet with
Yeah,
Jan
there's
Yanahiro.
Robin
Sorry,
Raskin.
there's Robin Raskin.
Robin
She was
Raskin.
editor-in-chief of Family
Go, Robin.
PC, which never took off. Everybody thought, oh, families want to use
We did
computers.
that with Disney, remember? That was
Another
a
bad
joint
idea.
venture with Disney.
Oh, here's
There we
Chip
go.
Buff
Just start the clock.
and Wizzy.
Wig.
Go back a little bit because you can actually see that pilot, and I know you'll
60-second workout, we're going to show you how to...
Here we go.
Chip Buff and
All right,
Wizzy
this time on
Wig.
60-second workout, we're going to show you how to flex your wrists to prevent those nasty repetitive stress injuries, RSI. We're also going to show you how to clean your computer screen. How long has it been since you cleaned your computer screen, Wizzy?
Just start the clock.
What a
How long
terrible
has it been since you cleaned your
idea.
computer screen, Wizzy. A line that will go down in infamy.
The Netcam Network, that's Ed
Yeah, Ed Capuano.
Capuano.
Silicon Spin, that was a show we launched with.
Yep. And Dvorak. Wait till you see Dvorak's outfit in this.
It's not about innovation.
That's not John C. Dvorak.
That's Jesse Burst.
Jesse Burst.
Yep.
Can they really build a bridge?
Silicon Spin, the idea that I
Oh,
stole.
I think Craig was
There he
host.
is.
There's
There he
John.
is.
He was not a host at first. Good Lord, what is that tie John's wearing? Holy cow.
Jim Louderback.
Oh, wait a
Sorry,
minute.
sorry,
Wait a
sorry.
minute. No,
There you
no,
go.
no protecting Jim here.
I was going for the tie, but I didn't realize what I was skipping over.
So before it was Fresh Gear, it was out of the box.
Hardware and software. Like this one of a kind.
Out of the box, I think, was my name. I liked that. I came up
That's a
with
good
it.
name.
I loved it, but I think the Fresh Gear probably
Is
did.
it right for everybody? Should everybody upgrade the minute it comes out?
There's no reason to stand in line until midnight to get this one.
Did anybody stand in line till midnight to get Windows ever? Lovely.
Oh, lovely.
You, the online audience.
Oh, God.
We never did this.
Cyberspace.
Did we?
No,
Plus,
we never
our
did.
virtual doctor of love dishes out some relationship dirt.
Yeah.
There's no way to tell what gender someone is online.
That's actually a man who's doing the body
Yeah,
of
right.
Tilda. So, in fact, that's...
To see if their online match got lit.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. This
That
we
made
did.
it.
Video
But not like this.
GameSpot TV, we called it.
GameSpot TV, because
Remember?
again, you're
'Cause
trying
of
to
Game-
tie into the Ziff
Because
Davis.
GameSpot, that was
That was a magazine.
cluster.
Yeah.
GameSpot people
But
hated
by the
us.
time Adam Sessler came along and Kate hosted it with him for a
Yep,
while,
right.
and then Morgan
Lauren-
Webb.
Lauren, I can't remember.
Lauren was the first host,
Right,
yeah.
yeah.
That show really was the big
That
success.
lasted forever.
It lasted many years into G4.
I think they're still running it. No, they're
sure
not.
they are.
But-
In between the cops reruns.
Exciting and challenging.
Yes, it is.
Doesn't it worry?
Doesn't it worry you?
So that was a
great.
promo tape long before the network started.
Well, and that's something that Greg put together because Greg was great at promos.
Yeah.
He was great
He
at
was the
picking
king.
those things and
Yeah.
pulling them in. So
Yeah. I think Greg really should get and never gets, but should get a lot of credit for that. And of course, you probably worked very closely as the
Yeah,
technical
well, like
guy.
there's a partnership between the content and understanding how to make great
Yeah,
entertainment.
because Ziff
television.
Davis knew it didn't know anything
Right,
about
exactly. That's why we hired him. And he brought in Ed Capuano. They worked together
Ed
at
was
MTV.
also at MTV, yeah.
And a bunch of other people that were all really good as well.
it. Yeah. It was fun.
It was fun. It was good.
We'll never forget those days. In fact, that's why we keep talking about them endlessly.
Incessantly.
Lauren Felder, was that her name? I think you
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. Anyway.
Anyway.
It was fun. But we're done.
What is it about Tech TV that created this?
You know what? I tell you what it was, and we were talking about it with the guys who are in your studio audience here.
Hello, guys. You were Tech TV viewers? Yes.
CDTV viewers, yeah.
CDTV.
But remember when we launched? We were in two places. Las Vegas,
Yep.
which was fun because we go to Comdex, and you were a celebrity. And then the big dishes in people's backyards,
Yeah,
right?
the 10-meter band.
Right. People would email us and say, "Oh my God, I live in a town of 500 people. I'm the only geek in town. I did not know there was anybody else like me. I thought I was going crazy." And that community that we were able to build, before the communities then were defined by CompuServe,
Right.
and AOL,
Right.
And we were able to bring geeks together in a way and have a home for them in a way that nobody had ever done. We created
exactly
this
right.
community
Yeah.
of authentic oddballs. Built
Yeah.
around technology, and nerds and geeks got to come together in one place. That, to me, was the true power of what we built.
You remember we had a 3D avatar chat in the beginning? Oh, God. What was the name of that? Was something
Oh
Worlds?
my God, it was terrible.
But there are a lot of people who watched on C-Band. And that was, you're right, that was the beginning. And they were the geekiest people of all because they had a big dish
They had
in
a
the
big ass
backyard.
dish in the back.
And it was unencrypted for a long time, so you could just pull it down. It was free to get. And then deals came along slowly, but...
Yeah, we ended up on various, and I think it got up to about 50 million plus
at the end,
homes at the end.
That's why
Comcast bought it, because they want to roll it into G4.
All they wanted was the homes.
Exactly.
As it turned out. Did you stick around?
No, I left before that. I left because, remember, when Paul Allen bought us, he wanted a CNBC-style product about technology called Tech Live.
Tech Live.
And I was given the opportunity to run it. I'd never run anything like that.
You ran Tech Live?
I ran Tech Live.
You lucky guy.
Yeah, lucky. I hired 200 people and fired them all.
It was insane.
And because he wanted something to watch. 10 hours of content about investing and technology.
It's kind of like CNBC with a tech slam.
Exactly, and that was great in 2000. Then when the crash
happened. And they made
happened,
everybody. Oh, that's what killed it. The crash.
Yeah.
That's what killed it. Because everybody had to anchor it. I anchored, and I remember I was anchoring after 9/11.
So I was going to anchor, but then I got Bormaned.
You got
Bormaned?
Like
yeah, apparently.
Jim
Ian Paul
Louderback
didn't like me either. Yeah, we don't want that guy.
We're in the same boat, my friend. The same boat. We've both been Bormaned.
Moose butted? I don't know.
Moose butted. No, but I remember anchoring with Erica Hill.
Yeah, right.
After 9/11, and Erica was from New York, so she was devastated.
Yeah.
She had a very hard time speaking. I mean, there were moments where and they'd cut away from her because she was just so devastated. That was a very, very difficult day for us at TechTV because we didn't know what to do. We weren't a news station, even though we had this apparent news operation. But at the same time, we couldn't just go on with our lives. The world had changed.
Yeah, and we were actually, a bunch of us were on tour. We were doing press tour. I saw Kathy Brooks last week. Remember Kathy?
Mm-hmm.
And we were reminiscing about this because we were supposed to be in D.C. that day. And I had done
I'd
done an appearance in Maine at a Best Buy on Saturday. And I went to my dad's house on Nantucket. And Tuesday morning, I was all set, getting up, ready to fly to D.C. because we were in New York the week before to continue our press run. And Kathy was already in New York. And I was on Nantucket Island, and none of us went anywhere.
No. We suspended the screensavers and call for help for a few days.
Yeah.
But I remember the day we came back, it was very moving, very touching. And that was when I realized that, yes, we aren't, for most people, we aren't CNN. We're not the place people go unless you're in our community. That was the first experience I had, that there is a standalone, separate community of people who were watching us, who wanted to be with us.
Right, part of the community. These are my friends. These are the people. That's because we were authentic and real. We weren't the blow dry hair, people reading off a teleprompter.
Yeah.
We're real. We're emotional, and we had that.
So it was really, I think that's when it hit home, that we can do programming, that we can speak to an audience, even though we're not the news channel. That community is important, is a large group of people. And that was a very, we all had candles, and it was a very moving
Well, and
moment for
you've
me.
built on top of that as you've built up Twit Network
and
as
we
well.
kept doing it. In fact, the thing that closest reminds me of it is when Steve Jobs died. We were doing a triangulation, and we stopped. And we did, for the next 8 hours, we just did Steve Jobs. And it was the same kind of thing where if you were not in our community, you'd go to CNN or somewhere else. But if you were in our community, this is the first place you'd go because you'd want to share that very important moment with your friends, and you'd want to watch other people, and you'd want to watch them talking about it, pulling in calls.
Yeah.
Yeah, we really are doing the same thing. The Netcam, what was it, the 3Com
Netcam Network.
They wanted to call it a webcam network. And I said, Greg, you can't call it a webcam. It's not a webcam. I know everybody calls it a webcam. I was a pedant even then.
But I agreed with you, by the way.
It's a netcam.
It's a netcam.
It's not
I agree with
webcam.
you. I agree with you.
It's not a podcast. Are you watching this on an iPod? Get a more modern device. But anyway, so we did call it Netcam Network, which probably was dumb. It probably should have been a webcam.
But hindsight's always 20/20. Come on.
But we still do that now with Skype.
Totally.
And better cameras, and we don't have to make people be on the phone so that they can hear us, or that we can hear them 1 frame per second. I have a problem with my. Anyway, let's take a break because I want to find out about Revision3, and I want to find out about Watch It, and I want to find out what you're doing right now. But first, a word from Personal Capital. I hope. We are all saving for our retirement, aren't we? Jim?
I am, yes.
Aren't we?
Yes.
If you're not saving for retirement, if you're planning
You
to live on
better
your
be.
Social Security, you're in trouble, my friend. I don't even know if there'll be Social Security when we retire. It's kind of up in the air.
When you and I retire, there probably will be.
Yeah, but you young folk, you better be putting some money away. Personal capital makes sure that the money you put away is being managed properly. And this is a problem all of us geeks have. There's two ways to go, kind of. You put money aside, and then you get a broker to tell you what to buy so that you have retirement. I'll tell you why that's wrong. What is a broker? A salesperson. They make a living on commission. The more you trade, the more they make. Sometimes they even have a stake in some of the stocks they sell you. These guys are not looking out for you. They're looking out for themselves. So if you're getting your advice from a broker, but most of us geeks say, oh, no, I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to set this all up, and I'm going to keep it. And that works for the first few months, and then you forget it, right? And you can't even tell what you've got and where it is because it's all in different accounts and it's different passwords. So the first thing Personal Capital does is bring everything together into one dashboard. So at least you can see where your money is and what's going on. In fact, you don't even have to budget anymore because they'll do it. They kind of tell you everything you need to know. You can also see if fees and mutual fund costs, things like that, are eating away your retirement. That is so useful. No wonder more than 720,000 investors are using Personal Capital right now to manage their net worth, to get rid of high fees. With Personal Capital, you can also get, besides the automatic tools, which all of us geeks like, unbiased advice, not from a broker, but from a certified financial planner who works for you. The Personal Capital advisors are completely independent. Personal Capital has set it up to avoid any conflict of interest. They, in fact, have a legal fiduciary responsibility to look out for your best interest. They're not on commission ever. And this is great. So the first thing's completely free. You can, if you wish, put money. They will also, they're a brokerage, so you can use their investors. You can put money in. But they also, if you track more than $100,000 worth of assets in the dashboard, they will give you a free 30-minute review. And I mean free. This is not a sales pitch. This is not a come on. They will sit and really listen to you and talk to you about your goals, your risk tolerance, when you plan to retire, what you're going to need. And they have a lot of information that's going to be very valuable to you. And this is absolutely free. So don't worry about the paid stuff. You don't have to do that. Everything I'm telling you is free. Personalcapital.com/triangulation. It's a kind of the whole idea is like freemium. In fact, Bill Harris, the founder, is a good friend. He says, about 5% of people end up going on the paid route using the financial advisors and using the investment. But that's fine. That's all we care about. We're really happy to give this away for free. By the way, not only do you get the dashboard on your computer, you get it on your iPhone, you get it on your Android device, your Amazon device, but you also get it on Android Wear watches, and now they have a Apple Watch app too, which is really cool. So you can get an alert when something's going on with your money. And this is all free. Personalcapital.com/triangulation. Sign up today. You're going to love Personal Capital. I use it. I've been using it for 2 years. Someday I'll get to retire. Many, many years from now. So you're kind of on the beach right now? A little bit?
Well, I'm sort of pulling a bunch of different threads together.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you what so
before you do that,
okay,
we got everybody wants to know what the hell happened. So Revision 3
with what?
With Revision 3. So Revision 3. What Kevin and Rose basically started that.
Kevin
right?
Rose and Jay Adelson started Revision 3 at the same time they started Dig.
Right.
By the way, I do have my Dig sweatshirt.
He brought in.
See,
I can beat you on that.
Sweatshirt.
In fact, I'm going to give you. I have a shirt that says "Dig 4 was my idea."
By the way, oh really?
Yeah.
Nice.
That's the thing that killed them. By the way,
the other thing I brought just because
What's
it's
that?
fun. It's the Best of CES.
Oh,
vest. Remember this, Judge?
For how many years do we do that?
3 or 4 years.
We would pick. That's a Scotty vest, by the way.
It's a Scotty vest, exactly.
We would pick the Best of CES.
There.
I'm
Isn't
so
that
glad
nice?
that we got out of that business. Remember one of the years
I helped start it.
We picked Moxie.
Yeah, I
remember
know,
that?
I know. You know what else we picked?
That was a hit.
You know, I actually have one of these still. Oh God, Data Play. Remember the little discs like this big?
Yeah, that was cool at the time.
That was cool. I think
That's the problem.
We were trying to decide if it was Sirius or XM one year. I think we picked XM because it was better audio quality.
It's much better. It still
anyway,
is.
Sorry,
but
I derailed you on Revision 3. I'm sorry.
No, but actually, that was a good topic, the best of CES, and it turns out that's a no-win proposition. It's good for viewership.
It's great. I don't know. It's great for viewership.
But you can't.
It's great for the brand.
You can't pick well, I don't know if it's great for the brand.
It is, because and this is the thing. If you do it right, you get your little, and we did this at PC Magazine.
I have one somewhere,
you get
Best of CES
you get that
sticker.
little award,
Yeah.
and you charge companies to put it on the box.
Right.
Back when people bought
it's a profit deal.
Totally. It's a licensing deal. You license the award to put on your box.
Little
it's a
did
great
I know.
business.
Best of CES, baby. Maybe we should do that.
Yeah, but you can license that out. You put that on your website. It's a best of. You get $10,000 to license one of those logos out.
So Kevin was doing. We've talked with Kevin.
Lisa, are you listening?
He was. He was doing System and
The Broken.
And so Revision3.
And then Dignation.
Yeah, Dignation was the big hit.
Those are the first 3 shows.
And that was the hit.
Yeah, Dignation.
In fact, when they decided to stop doing Dignation, did that kind of put a chill down your spine?
Yeah, of course.
Because that was that was the big.
We had some other good shows that we built up, and people that we brought in, like Young Turks and.
Well, at what point did you decide?
Phil
DeFranco. What point did you decide? Oh, we should bring in some YouTube stars.
So here's what happened. So we raised a bunch of money. They brought me in as CEO.
How much? 7, 8 million?
8 million. 2007. I came in mid-year 2007, and we launched a whole bunch of shows. Some with Sarah Lane, some with Martin Sargent, some a whole bunch of great stuff. None of them really. Patrick Norton came on.
Techzilla. That did well.
So, but none at the level of Dignation. None that had that power of Dignation.
Something about Dignation was massive.
Yeah. And we brought in some external shows. Started bringing, we brought in Hack 5,
which
is great.
Brought Darren out from the East Coast.
Yeah, Darren and Shannon both came out from the East Coast, and a couple others like that. But what happened in the end of 2008? That was when the crash happened.
Right.
And we basically got these notes, from all of our investors. Remember, we're venture-backed startups. We had to listen to them.
That was your mistake, by the way.
It wasn't my mistake. They brought me in when they raised the money. That was Kevin's mistake.
That was a mistake.
Yeah. But
because we in 2008 started doing video.
Right.
And we didn't have to ask anybody's permission. We didn't have to be we were always profitable, but we only spent what we could spend.
Well, and in this case, it was like, grow big, spend a lot of money, and do this.
Investors are going to want to see some growth.
Right. So anyway, at that point, it was nuclear winter, laid off 1/3 of the staff. And we started saying, we cored back to Dignation and Techzilla and a couple other things. And we started looking at what else was going on. We had just done a deal with YouTube. And I remember in 2009.
As a studio, what was the deal with YouTube? As an
affiliate, that we would put our videos on. I mean, remember, there were 20 or 30 different platforms.
Right.
We had deals
like Machinima or something like that?
So it was more like Rever.
Okay.
And Vio.
Okay.
And God, what was there? There was.
These are places you'd put your videos and then they'd put them on YouTube.
No, they'd put them on their own sites. These were all the sites that competed with YouTube.
I see.
There were 20 or 30 sites that all were going to be the next big thing in online video before YouTube became dominant.
Right. You couldn't do that today, could you?
Daily Motion, Blip.
Right.
Remember all those Daily
Blip's
Motions
gone.
still around?
Yeah, but that's European. That was, that's part of the reason Daily Motion succeeded. It's kind of YouTube for Europe.
Because it was France. It was funded by the France.
You have to
Stop.
Everything you do, you have to have a French version.
So
my name is Léo Laporte. What are you talking about? I know all about this.
Mais oui.
We must have our French version. We cannot do American YouTube. We call it VooTube. So everybody was trying to be YouTube.
Everybody was trying to be not necessarily YouTube. Everybody was trying to be the place for online video.
But that was a real coup to get Phil DeFranco.
Well, so YouTube started growing, right?
Yeah.
And so I started looking at it and saying, we need to put our stuff on YouTube.
Right.
And got to know the platform. Found some of the other people doing tech stuff on the platform.
Right.
Including Mark Watson, Soldier Knows Best, John Rettinger from Techno Buffalo, brought them in to round out the stuff we were doing. And at the same time, started bringing in and picking out some of the key YouTubers and bringing them in and making them part of Revision3 as affiliates. Not that we would buy them, but we became a multi-channel network.
You'd help them. You'd sell ads and stuff and help them make more money.
So Phil DeFranco was one of them. Phil actually came in. So I met Phil. It was a live Dignation at South by Southwest.
Beautiful Stubbs Barbecue.
Stubbs Barbecue.
Brian, you guys, that was a huge party.
It was huge. Brian Picorni, who was at SV Angel, which is Ron Conway's group, who had invested in us as an angel, said, oh, I got this guy. I'm hanging out with this guy, Phil DeFranco, and Justine, and they want to get in. And I'm like, come on, guys, you're going to VIP.
Come on.
And so, a year later, he was part of what we were doing. And so basically, we pivoted. from being mostly podcasts and mostly iTunes and all these other sources and mostly long form to doing more shorter form. I was cutting Dignation up and putting the little episode, Dig Bits, yeah, Dignation Daily, I'd call it, because I'd release one a day.
We have Twit Bits.
Twit Bits, yeah.
So was that did that work?
It worked really well.
Yeah.
We built good business. We made a lot of money at it, and the sort of things that we were doing that you do as well. The sort of in-show sponsorships, right? Yeah. Where you talk about Audible, you talk about
YouTube let you do that
for a while. So they let us do it. Then they got mad at us for doing it. Then everybody else started doing it. And there's a real back and forth on now they want a piece of the revenue.
Yeah.
For a while they were ready to shut us down.
We'll probably be gone from YouTube as soon as they figure out. They don't yet know that we exist.
I would always, whenever they would come after us, I would always pull a list of people together that were also doing it. You were always on the list, but I never used you.
No,
I never used
you. Threw me under the bus.
I did not ever throw you under the bus, but you were always on my list. I was like,
hey,
doing
Leo's doing it.
But
you know what?
They really
I used you too. I'd said Revision3's doing it. That's how you probably got in trouble. Was a lot of people said,
and Machinima and the other guys were all pissed because we were doing it,
and they're not allowed to put ads.
And we were making money.
Yeah.
But the reason why we did it, think about it. You put something on YouTube, and they control all the monetization.
And they take a huge chunk.
45%. But they wouldn't put a pre-roll in front of everything. Only 1 out of every 4 videos.
Right.
Sometimes an overlay, sometimes not.
You don't have any control.
You have no control. And we're like...
And you don't make, frankly, a lot of money, even if you have millions of views.
It's all about yield per view. How do you get the most amount of money for every time somebody looks at a video?
Right.
That's why we did in-show sponsorships, because that's how we would get, whatever it was, every view we would make more. We'd make 8, 10, 12 per 1,000 views, whereas if it was just YouTube, it would be $2.
Right. You're making more than 4 times as much.
Yeah, and that's the only way we could stay in business.
Yeah, it's why we don't. If YouTube says you can't, we'll leave YouTube. We're not going to. Yeah. Because that's not financially viable.
Well, your audience is your audience.
But at the same time, why did Revision3 sell?
So when you're a venture-backed startup, these were the guys that invested in us, that invested in Facebook and LinkedIn, and those were going like this.
Yeah,
we were going like this.
Yeah, you're growing. But any normal business person would say, "Hey, that's nice growth."
But because
you're doing great.
You're not
2x.
You're not on a path to unicorn for Hood.
You're not going to be a $1 billion company.
It's been 5 years. You're not going to do that. Let's start thinking about selling.
Exit.
So
we want our money out of it.
And I spent, the last 2 years of Revision3 talking to investors, talking to what they call strategics, which are the big companies.
You could see this coming.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd be in board meetings and they'd be like, get a list of the people that you might sell to. Start getting relationships with them. So about a year before.
And this was your job.
So I was CEO. That was my job. Mm-hmm. And the job of a CEO, which is why you don't do it, right, is to raise money, set strategy, and make sure that, and hire the right people.
Right.
Lisa does a great job at that.
She's very good at that.
You're awesome at doing this, at creating community and being the gel that pulls it all together.
Right.
So yeah, I did that. About a year before we sold, Discovery came out to Silicon Valley. And when these big companies do this, they talk to some of the top VC firms and say, hey, who do you got? Who should I meet?
Yeah.
And so they introduced them to a bunch of people, incling us.
Nice.
And so I got to know...
This is where having a VC firm is good.
Yes, exactly.
Because they open doors for you.
Right. So I got to know the guys at Discovery.
Yeah.
It turns out that we were very similar in how we talked about ourselves. We did a distribution deal with them. We started putting Scam School on Discovery.com. We got to know each other better and better. And at some point, we crossed over that path of we're business partners to we should buy you.
Right. Right. And that worked out.
It worked out. Everybody made money.
Right.
So everybody made a little money. Nobody made a lot of money.
But they got their money back, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. It's good not to lose your money.
You'd like to make a little money.
For the VC firms want to make 10x to 20x.
Yeah. But they don't do that on every deal.
No, they don't.
They don't lose money on you. They're happy.
It's okay. They're fine with it. They like that.
Yeah.
Some of our angel investors did pretty well. Like I brought Mark Cuban in towards the end. He probably tripled or quadrupled his money.
Nice.
Not a lot of money, but he did okay.
Yeah.
And everybody made some. I mean, even the person that we hired a month before, I made sure got a little bit.
Good for you.
So, because it was important to me.
Good for you.
Everybody worked hard.
But it's not, and now Discovery ran it and you were there.
I was 2.5 years.
2.5 years.
I brought it in, we launched a ton of stuff, bunch of new networks. We actually bought Phil DeFranco's company.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, and so we built a lot of great stuff.
Did you, as part of the deal, were you locked in for a period of time?
There was Yeah, I mean, there was definitely things that made
They don't
it,
want people to leave
right,
when they buy.
it made it financially
They incented
worthwhile.
you. They incentivized
Thank
you.
you. They incentivized me to stay.
How would you like
Yes.
to vest?
they incentivized me to stay for sure.
Yeah.
And I did. And did great stuff.
Yeah. It seems like they've cut down or eliminated all in-house production at this point. Is that right?
No, they're still doing a lot of in-house.
They do
production.
still do.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been 8 or 9 months since I left, so I don't know what's going on there now. But they're still doing a bunch. Like a lot of the stuff we did with Test Tube, D News, they launched a bunch of new shows.
Just to be clear, and I'm sure people understand this, but we want and need Revision3 to succeed. We want if you're something like Twit, you don't want to be the only person doing this. Otherwise, then it's like, well, what is this? Can't be a good business. Nobody's doing it.
Well, you got to have something to compare yourself to.
So you need other people in the space to validate it.
But they're out there. I mean, look at Techno Buffalo, right? Which is still part of Discovery Digital Networks, as far as I know, as an affiliate. Look at what Luria, now Callie, is doing with
She's
with
spun
Geeks
off
Life.
to
And,
Geeks Life. Yeah.
And
Geek Beat TV is still going on.
Apparently, John's doing Geek Beat TV.
He's going to continue doing Geek Beat TV.
You look at Soldier Knows Best, Android Authority. There are new folks popping up all the time on YouTube. We're doing great stuff in the technology
See, the
space.
YouTube stuff worries me because I feel like in the long run, you're working for the man. That Google, if you're on YouTube, it's because Google's going to make money on you, right? Your Google's always going to make more money than you do on everything you do.
You can make a lot of money on YouTube.
I know you can. People do.
People do.
But those are the rare exceptions, I think.
Look, you can make a lot of money on YouTube. There are a lot of other opportunities to make money as well. I mean,
well, thanks for Patreon now and a whole bunch of crowdfunding solutions. You really don't need. You could put it on YouTube, but you don't need YouTube.
Well, and it is in many ways. It's a way to make money, but it's also a way to market yourself.
Right.
And that's where things like tours. So a lot of people go on tour and make money that way.
The guys at .NET Rocks have done a couple of bus tours, and they were telling me what a great idea it was.
We would do this with Phil
I want to do this. Lisa won't let us. I want to do an Airstream and do the show from an Airstream and go across the country.
You should go take a theater, like the Petaluma Theater. Get a theater of that size and go out.
Problem is, we don't have one show. We have a lot of we have like 24 shows. So you can't really take 24 shows on
No, but you take you and 1 or 2 other people and just go do it live.
I guess.
We'll
let Mike Elgin stay here. We'll do it live. And so you left how long ago?
About 8 months ago, 8 or 9 months ago, yeah.
How's that been? It's been fun?
It's been so much fun.
Yeah, you get some free time,
a little
relax.
free time, and I'm sort of weaving a bunch of things together.
So what's this Watch It?
So Watch It is a company I'm working with them a couple days a week. It's a tech startup.
WOCHIT.
Okay. They're a video creation platform that, video is really still a priesthood, right? You need editors and producers. Right. I mean, not you, but most people to create this
I
stuff.
have all of those.
But think about blogging, right? When we went from magazines to blogging, suddenly anybody could create.
Yeah, but TV's harder to do
Not with Watch It.
Yeah.
So if you're creating a news story, a trending topic or something like that.
You would go to this site.
You would sign up. We have access to all these different sources. So we have legit access to AP, Reuters, Getty, API, all this great content.
So you can incorporate the B-roll in from these.
Right, start with the text, create a video in 10 or 15 minutes.
Oh, wow.
That you can get up when something big happens, like Tom Brady and Deflategate.
Right, there he is.
You can do a video on that. We did a video on that in 10 minutes. So this is something that anybody
then publish it where?
Well, if you work with a company, publish it anywhere you want. Huh. Yahoo uses it, Gannett uses it.
Oh.
We're now, one of the reasons why
So it's like turnkey video publishing.
But you do it yourself, yeah, pretty much.
Wow.
And it's, the idea is because you have access to all these sources, you know how hard it is to go find good video?
Yeah.
Then you got to pay for it.
It's actually one of the things that's, I think, hurting us a little on the new screensavers is we need more B-roll. We need more sources of content to roll in under that.
One of the nice things about coming up here is now I'm talking to some of your guys about maybe using it. So
watch it.
So watch it. So that's one thing.
Yeah.
The other thing,
just a couple of days a week.
Just a couple of days a week. But I'm also a couple of days a week running all the content, the industry content at the biggest online video trade show, VidCon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so VidCon started out as a way for YouTubers to basically get together with their community. It's 1,500 people, Hank and John Green, the Vlog Brothers.
Justine,
to 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And in Anaheim, the 23rd and the 24th of July. And so when I left Revision3, we'd been sponsors for a long time. And I called up Hank and I was like, that industry track, I could help you make it better. He was like, well, we're adding a new creator track. Why don't you come run it for me?
Neat.
So yeah, so we're gonna announce our schedule, I think, this week. But I'm doing much more than just YouTube. It's because the online video world It's now Facebook and Twitter and
But they
Vessel
need
and
your
Victorious.
expertise, so that's
so
a
I built a great program, a
opportunity for you.
lot of tech. Anyway,
That's
it's
great.
going to be fun.
Good.
And then I have some news for you.
Okay.
The reason why I got on my phone during your last read because I was like, can I talk about this now?
Oh, really?
So a couple of our folks we worked with at Ziff Davis, who say hi, Mike Edelhart. Remember Mike Edelhart?
Mike Edelhart, absolutely. I love Mike.
And Bill Losey.
Bill Losey, absolutely.
So they run.
These are very high level.
Yeah, well,
people.
they've been.
I worked for Mike
I
in
worked for
TV.
them, and I've been. They've been mentors of mine, and I love them to death. They have a venture fund, a micro venture fund called Social Starts, and they've raised I think $10 or $20 million.
Wow.
So I'm going to be helping them out a little bit too.
Good. What kind of stuff will you be investing in?
Looking at online video and social and other things, and just hopefully helping them find the things that'll make their partners a lot of money.
Nice.
And maybe a teeny little bit for me too. So with all that stuff, by the way, that's a lot. That's like a full. Now
So you're
I'm
not.
working,
I was going to ask you, are you getting any surfing in? But I guess not.
I'm hiking Devil's Slide every day.
He's a Snapchat.
You know, I actually walked with last week.
Who?
Becky Worley.
Oh yeah.
She and I went for a walk.
I
It was
love
great.
Becky.
So nice to see Becky.
Yeah. Yeah, she's still quite the sport woman, even though she's got the worst knees ever.
She was going off surfing afterwards. I'm like, you have fun.
She paddleboard. She's trying to get Lisa to paddleboard with her.
Oof.
Not me. I'll sit on the shore and watch wave.
Yeah.
Good luck, girls.
I'll just walk around. I'll walk the beach. Exactly.
Jim, it's great to see you. It's
great to
so
see
much
you,
fun
too.
to catch up. You're obviously continuing to be a macher, a maven, a guy, a connector, a person who puts deals together, puts people together, and makes things happen. And I think that's so great. That's what, as long as I've known you, that's what you've been.
Well, you know what? I'm having fun, and
Good.
if I wasn't having fun, I wouldn't do it. Part of the reason why I left TechTV, I wasn't having fun anymore.
Oh.
That's the way it goes. I had to lay off the entire staff at Tech Live.
That's kind of a bummer.
It really wasn't fun. I laid myself
200
off.
people?
We hired 200 people.
Wow, that's got to hurt.
Yeah,
I remember those big layoffs. I was on a plane, I was in an airport, and I kept getting calls from people, and they said, people are carrying their boxes. And
Well, and, Leo, congrats to you for reinventing a lot of the magic of what we had here.
go a lot smaller and on
screensavers.
a business model that's...
Did you buy screensavers? Did you go get the...
They abandoned it.
They did?
Yeah.
Wow, that's so awesome.
They hadn't done anything with it in 8 years. We approached them, and they said... they kind of dragged it out. We wanted to buy it.
You know what
we should bring back Fresh Gear.
I know, you did that. And I'm like...
Fresh Gear Light On.
You know what I kept on doing? I kept on looking for freshgear.com, and when they abandoned it, I wanted to buy it. They sold it to somebody.
Oh.
I know. I was
Yeah.
Anyway,
So the new
congrats to you.
screensavers, it's not this. The other thing is it's just the name. It's not the same show. It's very different, but a lot of fun to do. And
awesome.
we'll bring you up if you'd like to be a co-host on a show.
I'd love to come up sometime.
What's fun is
Bring me
getting
up.
to bringing all the people back. We started with Patrick Norton, with Kevin Rose on Saturday.
I saw the Kevin Rose stuff. That was good.
Father
That was
Robert,
great.
we're going to use a mix of old people and new people. So one of our in-house people, Father Robert, will host this Saturday. And we're trying to do it. The reason we created it, we wanted to do a variety show.
Yeah, right.
Because there's all these things I want to talk about, but don't merit a weekly show,
Right, yeah.
So we thought, well, what if we did a variety show, and then we could do within that little bits of the... I mean, we're even going to do cooking. We're going to do... We had a show we piloted and I loved called I'd Fund That, where you bring in crowdsource projects.
Nice, right.
And it's kind of like Shark Tank for Kickstarter. And then we'd say, well, I'd fund that, or go fund yourself. And it turned out it was kind of mean.
Yeah.
Go fund yourself. I made a guy cry. So I swear to God, it was terrible. It was the worst experience
You're
ever.
like the nicest guy in the
So
world.
I said,
You
we're
made a
not
guy
doing
cry.
this show is not going to happen. Well, I felt like I should tell him, your idea is never going to go. So
Mark Cuban, you are not. And
I am
that's
not.
A good thing.
I can't do it.
That is a good thing.
I can't do it. So we decided instead just to bring in some of the people we really like. We did it this week. I have a 3D. It was what do they call it? Metal coating for 3D printing. So they made me they 3D printed this, and then they dip it in this electrolyte solution, and so underneath is a plastic 3D dog. But now it's this beautiful copper dog that they. Where is it? Where's the shot? There
cool.
it is. Yeah. Isn't that cool? Wow. So that was on Saturday. So we're going to do all sorts of fun things. But I'd love to have you come up for
anytime
for hosting the show.
So it's
with me.
It's pretty easy to get here.
Yeah. This is episode 200. I think it's fitting.
200.
That episode 200 of Triangulation should be on the 17th anniversary of the launch of TechTV with one of the guys who designed the network and kept going forever and ever and still doing the thing, Jim Louderback. Nice
Thanks,
to see
Leo.
you.
It's nice to see
Thank
you,
so
too.
much
Thanks for
coming.
having me up.
I appreciate it. We do Triangulation every Monday morning, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. That's 1800 UTC. I'd love it if you'd join us because, as I said, you're the third leg of the stool. Your questions, your thoughts, your comments at chat are so valuable. But, of course, we always make every show available on demand. Both audio and video available at twit.tv/TRI. You can use your podcast app or iTunes, or use the Twit apps on every platform, iOS, Android, Windows Phone, Roku, and subscribe. That way you get each and every episode. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next time on Triangulation.